Incredible stuff. Folks, I've only ever seen 2 sightings of wild dogs before in my life. One was an individual, and the other time was 12 dogs in the Kruger National Park that were running around the vehicle. But never have I shown people wild dogs. It's always been on my own. Look at that. They are sitting in the shade. You can see their mouths are open. They've been moving. They've been active. They've probably been running. There's alarm calls of impala coming off towards the left. They're looking in that direction. From Osana to wild dogs in the space of 500 meters, folks. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable. I hope you're all watching this. I hope this got you all a little bit more awake this morning. And there they are up. One is moving. These are formidable hunters. Wild dog, I think, if my facts are correct, I've got a success rate of killing of in the 90s, high in the 90s. Leopards and lions are very, very low in their success rate. They miss a hell of a lot. But the ability of the wild dogs to pursue and to chase, they are stamina and endurance runners. No one can outcompete the wild dog when it comes to long distance running. And as a pack, they are very, very, very clever. And only about 5-6 years ago maybe was the first time it was documented where they used drones or helicopters to follow the movements of these dogs and how they used to move in unison, fanning out to obviously encircle their prey. You can see the intention of the ears looking in the same direction. The impala are not happy. The impala will not come anywhere near these guys. To try and escape these guys is impossible. If they decide to pick you out as an individual, you are done. A question, do I think Hasana and the wild dogs are aware of each other? I don't think so. I mean, Hasana's a fair bit more east of where we are now. Where we had him this morning, where we originally found him, is probably about 2 kilometers, about a mile or so away from where we are now. And these guys weren't in the property yesterday, and they're not aware. I don't think they're aware of the leopard. I'm sure they can pick up on the smells of anything, but they are more interested. Look at that, almost salivating. If any of you have a dog back home and you play with the ball, you can see the change in the mouth posture there. One of excitement, one of I want to catch that. And I think they're just gauging. They've probably been running quite a bit already and were unsuccessful. But they can cover the entire expanse of the Sabi Sands in one evening. It is quite an incredible thing, this, folks. Often you hear of wild dogs. Back in my day when I was doing some work for Singita in the Sabi Sands, they would pick up on the tracks of a wild dog moving into the property, and within minutes the tracks would be located leaving on the opposite side. So they don't stick around. This is a very rare sighting, I believe, for them to just be sitting here and waiting. If they get up and start moving, it is going to get very busy. Very, very busy. But they are more of a daytime hunter or a crepuscular hunter, as we spoke about before with the pearl-spotted owlet. Dogs aren't active necessarily at night unless there's a full moon. They're more active during the day. It's also a means of evading competition with larger predators such as lion. Wild dogs are no match for lion when it comes to Corin asks if these dogs are young, and Corin, to be honest with you, I've only ever seen one pack of wild dogs before, and they were not sitting like this. They were not moving, and I do not know these individuals. This for me is quite a unique experience. I know when I go out of this, I'm going to be doing a lot of reading up on the wild dogs of the Sabi Sands. I was not expecting to see them this morning. I know that's no excuse, but they all look in a reasonable good condition. There are some youngsters there. That one looks relatively young. I wouldn't know how to age wild dogs, though. I do not have the experience. I'm sure Tristan and some of the other guys like James probably have a lot more experience than I do. Here we go. You can see a bit of saliva dripping off the mouth there. They are hungry. They are always hungry. And they catch something. They don't actually suffocate it like your other predators do. They just eat it alive, ripping it apart. and very social. No aggression seen between the pairs or the individuals as they feed. They just rip it apart, and they can do very, very quick job on an impala or a steenbok or anything of that sort, who once spotted has a very difficult chance of getting away. Unbelievable. Seb, you enjoying this, man? Seb is loving it. Penny asks, do wild dogs den their young? And that is yes, definitely they do. You'll often have the alpha male and female which dominate a pack like this. They're the only ones that breed. They all assist in the rearing of the young, but only the female will suckle the young, and they'll den them in a sight. Obviously the purpose is to, what's going on? There's a bit of social behavior going on now. They're very social animals. There's a big pond. There's always interaction with them, with licking and smelling, tasting, and they are a very, very well knitted unit when it comes to hunting, and they assist in the rearing of pups just from the alpha pair. They're not able to support pups if more than one female breeds. It's too much meat required if they do, and so just the alpha pair will do so, and there will always be one or two. Often the alpha male or female will stick around with the pups in the den site and will guard them. I remember a story of a friend of mine years ago who was watching wild dogs, and the wild dogs left, and the pups then moved underneath his vehicle and waited for the adults to come back. So he couldn't leave the sighting until the adults came back, purely because there were puppies under the wheel. It was a friend of mine I studied with years ago, Brendan Schmickel, who did some guiding up in the Timbavati. And there's a very nice pack in the Timbavati that moves through, and I was with two friends of mine in the Timbavati. We were staying at a landowner's little rondavel there at one of the dams, I think on I can't remember the name of the place in the Timbavati, but wild dogs came in the morning. I got woken up, seemed rudely at the time, by my friend Robbie, who was busy starting a fire, and I didn't know why he was waking me up so rudely. And then when I woke up, I saw 16 wild dogs come into view, and they ran around the dam, and moments later they chased an impala. The impala only evaded the wild dogs by jumping into the dam itself and swimming across the dam. But quickly the wild dogs circled around to the other side. The impala swam past a group of hippo, and then the wild dogs obviously cut off the escape route. The impala turned around, and what I thought was so incredible was that then the hippo then followed the impala, picked up its jaws, and then smashed it underneath the water. And the impala did not come up again. I still believe that impala holds a record from underwater breath hold. Hear the death bellows of an animal in the distance as the wild dogs were eating and ripping something apart. But folks, we're going to stay here with these dogs and see if they get up and get mobile again. We're going to send all the way. While we wait here, they might get up and move, but we're going to keep in touch, and we'll be on ball as soon as they move. We're going to go up to the Mara. Ralph has some not a bad sandwich to be in, Trist. Not a bad sandwich. Fortunately, you can't see these animals though, but we can. This is awesome, folks. Seb was just saying, what a morning, what a welcome back for him. I think he should go and leave more often, if this is the way things happen afterwards. Okay, folks, well, they're slowly starting to pick up something here. Pick themselves up, should I say. That one individual is moving. I can't see anything though, Seb, can you? I think they might just be moving. The wind is coming in the direction that they've started moving in. And as a pack, they move as one. Probably one of the lead females there that stood up and sent off initially. We're going to start up and try and reverse back here, see if we can stay with them. Hold on, folks. Michael asks, how long, if an alpha dies, what's the transition period before a new individual takes over? And I do not know the answer to that. I'm quite the studies of wild dogs, I'm not too familiar with them. I haven't spent too much time with them in the past, but these are questions I'm going to be reading up on this afternoon when we get back. They've gone into the drainage here, folks. We are going to see if we can keep up with them. You still got them, Seb? They've gone into the drainage line. We're going parallel with them. These animals, if they start moving, it is very difficult to keep up with them because they do not go slowly at all. But I think I might go in here, Seb. This is exciting stuff, folks. Very exciting stuff. So while we navigate in here and see if we can find them again, I believe Taylor's got something for you in the Mara on a very cloudy and cool morning. The wagging tail of the dog, the famous painted dog of Africa, endangered species listed on the IUCN Red Data list. Projects all around southern Africa to look after these animals. And folks, yes indeed, from the hyena to the wild dog, we have relocated these beautiful animals. They weren't too far from where we originally lost them, but they were moving through the thick bush, and we went all the way around the block, and fortunately one of the other vehicles managed to find them. And that is the beautiful thing about the radio, is that the radio allows us to communicate with each other, and we can find animals that way. Without the radio, the amount of things that you're going to find out here is limited to a huge extent. It's only from what you physically will see by driving. But by using the radio, you can communicate road names, you can communicate direction of tracks, you can communicate intention, all those sort of things. No point everybody going out of a lodge and following one track all the way. You go out and you do 4 or 5 different tracks out there. And there's 2 of the other vehicles, one from Jacana, and I think the other one I didn't see, I think Chitwa Plains. We're going to follow, folks, so stick with us. This is live, absolutely live, caught on safari. We are doing it. We are going to show you wild dogs in action. This is a first for me, the first time I tried to follow the first wild dog that I saw. It was lying down. And I called it on the radio. I was all on my own, and as I called it in, it stood up and it disappeared, and that was the end of my day. So they are difficult to follow. We do have a few other people here with us who will assist if we do lose them. We'll just wait here, see what they do, because there is another drainage line they could potentially cross up ahead here. Wonderful. Okay, folks, so we're going to stay with them here. They look like they're lying down in the shade. And from a dog to a fox, we have Taylor McCurdy, who I believe is in the Masai Mara, with an animal that has the largest ears for a mammal. Hotting up indeed, folks. We have managed to find these dogs again. They moved probably about 2 kilometers, about a mile or so away from where we originally had them. They moved into the shade here of these tambuti trees, and then they all just went flat again. There's been a little bit of movement between them, a little bit of jostling, but not too much going on. Their ears are very alert, and they are quite hungry, it seems, because they've moved a little bit. But there's not too much activity going on. But we managed to find them. We're in a great position. I've managed to find a little bit of shade for myself and Seb as well. We're willing to sit here and wait this out. Look at that. They are such loving creatures, aren't they? A lot smaller than you'd think they are, but it's the numbers that make up the strength. And as in talking about the leopard earlier, someone asked me about birds and their smell. Wild dogs definitely have a very, very good sense of smell, but look at the size of those ears. Unbelievable size of ears, but not aggressive to man, as Tristan can show you. They ran straight past him. So these are not dangerous animals to encounter on foot. If you happen to be injured and maybe lying down and bellowing and in a bit of pain and unable to run away, then I'm pretty sure there might be a little bit more of a difference there. But if you're just a normal human being who's not injured and stand your ground, they generally just pass you by without incident. So quite awesome that you were able to see that while Tristan was on foot. And yes, as he said, wonderful to see animals on foot. It's not often you see animals on foot, and I'm yet to see wild dogs on foot. I think that's on my bucket list. And these guys, there we go, something got their attention. But if anyone's been in the army before, when you're in the army, life is all about rest. Eat when you rest, because it's always go time. When it's go time, there's no time for rest. So these dogs, when they're on the move, there's no time for rest. So as soon as things quieten down, they lie down, take a breather, but almost instantly they can be up and active. Kate K, you ask, do wild dogs get ticks? Most certainly. All the animals out here with fur get ticks. The reason you don't find oxpeckers on them, which is also part of your question, is they don't tolerate them. Most of the mammals don't tolerate oxpeckers, and if you have a mouth and you eat meat, an oxpecker lying on your body is potential prey, and that animal could get eaten. So oxpeckers have learned to have evolved to rather leave these dogs alone, as they do leave lions, hyenas, leopards alone, purely because the potential of getting swatted and eaten is far too great. Rather stick with a herbivore who has no interest in eating you. If a herbivore does swat you, you just move right back in. Wild dogs have the potential to catch birds that spook out from the grass, and they're very quick, very athletic. They can jump as well, nothing like a serval or a caracal, but they can jump. They're quite athletic, and their snapping jaws would quite quickly end an oxpecker's life. So it is in their best interest. It's possible the original oxpeckers that did land on wild dogs and predators, they never bred, so that is the end of their line. It is something that would have been learned, I'm sure, way down the line. So it sounds like a morning of dog-like animals, from bat-eared foxes to hyenas to wild dogs. What a special morning we are having. You can see the typical shape of the dog spoor, quite similar in design to that of the hyena, except more symmetrical. The back pad is two-lobed, and you can't see the claws right now, but there are claws in the front, and the claws enable them to get purchase in their long running. Dogs don't use claws for subduing or catching prey like cats do. Hyenas, in the same design as the wild dog, use the claws for spikes. Usain Bolt would not be the fastest man in the world if he ran barefoot. He doesn't have the claws or the studs in his shoes that dogs have, so he has to, or obviously he's bought the shoes, but he doesn't have them in his feet. So that's what makes him fast, is the studs, the ability to grip. And I'm not sure too much about American football, but I know rugby and soccer players, football players, all use studs. It enables them to turn quickly. It enables them to get purchase in wet soil, in hard soil. Allows you to be very agile. Also enables them to do a bit of digging. And as the question was posed earlier about wild dogs and their denning, they would need them for digging into probably termite mounds or something in the ground. While we wait here with these beautiful creatures, these painted dogs, quite an iconic African symbol, we're going to go over to see what Tristan is reminiscing about. How they are getting on, folks, is they are very flat. We thought there was something going on because 3 of them got up and moved back in the direction that they had come from. But what we witnessed there was quite interesting, is the female actually, they went up to the road, 2 of them, was a male and female, and they did some sniffing of some branches, small little branches on the road. We didn't investigate too much because we moved back with them, possibly some hyena scent marking there. I'm not sure. Maybe the wild dogs have been through here before, but the female then urinated, and it was quite an interesting thing to see. I've never seen a dog urinate like that before. She urinated and actually lifted her back legs off the floor while she's doing it. It was something that Seb and I had a little chuckle over, because maybe she didn't want to get her feet wet, but I'll be honest with you, that is the first time I've seen a wild dog urinate before. But it was quite interesting, and I wonder if anyone out there has seen it before, and if they have, maybe they can tell me what they think, or what the purpose could potentially be. But it was exciting, and then they came back and they joined the rest in exactly the same position that you were with us before. And can you get a shot on that foot, Seb? We can get a clear of the one in front now. You can see the little bit down. There we go. That one there. Okay, so we were talking before about the claw. They're all hidden. We're all hidden.
Very awesome.
There we go. You can see the claws there. They're not sharp. They're not protractile. I know a lot of people talk about cats having retractable claws. They're not retractable. They actually have the ability to go out. They actually live inside and they come out. Like Wolverine in the X-Men movies, his claws actually live inside of his hands, and he has the ability to throw them out when needed. Dogs, including the hyena, which is not a dog, we always should say it is, have got non-retractable or protractile claws, and they are blunt for the running. Mita, you have a Rottweiler, I believe, and you're wondering, is a wild dog stronger than your Rottweiler? That is a very interesting question, but the wild dogs are not very strong individuals. They are lean, they are fit, they are very, very fast. One-on-one against a Rottweiler, I probably would not think a wild dog would compete against a Rottweiler, but that is very debatable. They've got a different behavior. They are wild. That's a very interesting question. I wonder if anyone's ever experimented with something like that before, but the beauty and the strength in wild dogs comes in their numbers, in their pack mentality. I mean, a pack of wild dogs will quite easily chase away a small clan of hyena. As long as the dogs outnumber the hyena, they'll definitely chase them away. So when the wild dogs are formidable, but wild dogs don't tackle or attempt to tackle anything on their own. Rather avoid it. They are not the strongest of animals. You can see by their bone structure or by the shape of their bodies, they are more designed for speed and agility and distance running. And their jaws are powerful, but nowhere near as powerful as a hyena, but they can definitely outrun that fast hyena-day animal. And here we have them enjoying a little bit of shade under the tambuti trees. Quite a nice place to set up a camp. I remember what we spoke about the other day about tambuti if you were on the show. So folks, we're going to stay here. And we have the very small mammal up in the tree. We have two tree squirrels that are sitting up here in the big knobthorn tree, completely unconcerned, non-concerned at all about the pack of wild dogs lying at the base of the tree. And Seb was asking me why are they not alarm calling, and that's a good question. And it's obvious that squirrels have no threat from wild dogs. I mean, I'm sure a wild dog would probably catch one on the floor if it had the opportunity, but I don't think they're fleet-footed enough to catch a squirrel. The only time a leopard can catch a squirrel is it physically chases it up the tree, and just the agility and the flexibility and the speed at which a leopard can move will catch that. So squirrels are often a good alarm call for us, but clearly, if you're looking for wild dogs, don't pay attention to the squirrels because they won't be saying too much. But folks, from scat and dung, we come back to the wild dogs. We could have gone back to the road to find some of the scat there of the wild dog, but I don't think we're that interested in finding out what they've been eating. We know it's going to be meat, but be impossible to ascertain what meat they might have fed on. There was one of the females that we saw before. We haven't managed to really see her face again, but the neck and the head was actually quite covered in blood, which indicates that they probably fed on something at some point this morning. That's why they're not too interested in moving around. And you can see, like Husana yesterday was panting, the temperatures now are up to 24 degrees Celsius, up 75 degrees Fahrenheit. It's definitely warmed up a bit. The sun has just moved behind the cloud, which is giving Seb and myself a little bit of respite here as the dogs enjoy the shade of the tambuti trees. They are flat out and they are very, very relaxed. There's been absolutely no movement since your last contact with us. The head is up and is down again. They are beautiful. This is a sensational morning for myself and Seb. And what else can we say? What a morning. What a morning. This is all live, folks. Everything we're showing you is happening in real time. Jurassic's asking a question: can wild dogs be domesticated? And like the wolf, it all depends on how they are born. If you bred a wolf in a captive environment, it's possible that you could domesticate it. I don't know if a wild dog is exactly the same. They are derivatives of each other. They would have been related at one point many, many years ago, many eons ago. But wild dogs are extremely wild. This is a natural breed in the wild. I don't think they are domesticatable, but if you bred a female and you took the puppies away from her, it's possible that you could domesticate them. But I've never seen it. I've never read anything about it. A Franklin just gave an alarm call there, and the dogs lifted their head. You see that? They're trying to scan and pick up any sounds that they might in the bushes. Those ears are constantly working. I can't imagine the sounds that they're able to hear. I mean, my ears are pretty tuned to the bush. When you spend enough time out here, folks, those of you who live in a city, you train yourself to not listen, because there's so much noise, there's so much ambient noise out there that you just try to drown out. You try not to smell or feel or hear. But out here, when you spend enough time in the bush, I've seen it with students that I've had for just a month or 2 months. The first day, they are absolutely blind in all aspects of their senses. And after a few weeks, by the time they leave, a month, 2 months gone, it is incredible what these people are able to pick up, are able to absorb from the environment. And wild dogs, this is where they live. Their ears are far bigger. The organs inside the ears are far more sensitive than ours. And the ability to rotate those ears in different directions enables them to locate or triangulate the position of something that might be there. You'll notice the ears are constantly flicking from side to side. We don't have the ability of being able to move our ears like that, but monocular ear movement. But we are able to hear amazing things when you spend enough time out here. The sensory perception that we start developing after months and months is amazing. Nancy asks, are the cuts in the ears? I hadn't noticed that. Are the cuts in the ears wounds or are they marks by the rangers? That's a very good question. I haven't noticed. Sid, what do you think? Do you know more about that topic?
I think it would be marks in the ears. I don't think it's from rangers.
I think, folks, Seb doesn't think it's from the rangers. The packs are identified through markings, definitely, but pack size and location is how they would mark them. There's only so many wild dogs in the Kruger Park, so if they find a pack, they normally look at the number. There might be some recognizable features of individuals within the pack that they look for, and definitely they would use those markings as identification. The couple markings I'm looking at now through my binoculars don't seem to be man-made. It's possible that through their very fast movement through bushes, if any of you have walked through the bushes here before in the African savanna, there are a lot of thorns. I've got a couple scratches on my leg from the other day, and I wasn't even running. So these guys can move at a very, very fast speed, probably about 60 kilometers an hour at the gallop. That's about 35 odd miles an hour. They can keep running, which is a phenomenal speed. Kit Kat is asking which animal between a hyena or the wild dog has the best stamina, and I would suggest, just through the experience I have with them, that wild dogs have more stamina. Hyenas are more of a solitary hunter. Wild dogs can catch their prey a little bit easier with the assistance of their friends. They always exclusively hunt in packs. Hyenas also hunt in groups, but they quite often also hunt on their own, and they can pull animals down. I think they're both very, very athletic, but if it came down to it, I would probably suggest that the wild dogs are more athletic. But maybe one of the viewers out there has a different answer and can send a comment through. Let us know what you think. But at the moment, they're not very athletic. They are very flat, and they are enjoying the coolness of the morning. Or the shade, should I say. The morning's not so cool. You can see the belly's a little bit distended. An impala would have gone through these guys quite easily, shared between them. I think we counted 9 initially. We can only see 6 in the frame right now. I think 3 more are just a little bit somewhere else here towards the right of the shot. We can't see them, but initially when we had them on the road, I think I counted 9. There's the yawn. Yeah, so they would have been up at first light, and they would have been moving. That wild guy, that is a statement, a comment that you've just made that I 100% agree with. The only 2 sightings or 3 sightings I've had in my life of wild dogs. Thanks, Tristan, from predatory insects and arthropods to probably the most successful predator on the African continent. We are still here with the painted dogs, the African wild dog, and they have not done much, folks. One of the other individuals has come back from a little bit further down and joined them. We have a total of 8 now in our view. I thought we saw 9 earlier, but maybe I'm mistaken. But nothing much has happened. Every now and again a sound goes off in the distance and they stick their heads up. And Seb and I were just commenting on how where we're sitting in a drainage line, close to a drainage line, there's going to be movement of animals through here. Chelapan's not too far away, and Gari Dam is on the other side. So there is water in abundance nearby, and any animal of the right size that walks past is going to have a very hard time. Costa asks, how has the wild dog's pattern evolved like that? It's difficult to say. I mean, it's quite a camouflage. It works as a good camouflage out here, sort of a daytime mottling. Any of you hunters out there who spend time bow hunting or hunting in the wilderness, you have your camouflage jackets and pants that you wear, the army guys as well, the military that they use. The wild dog's patterning is not too different from that, and each dog has got a bit of a unique patterning, and I'm sure it's a genetic pass down from the mother and the father, but the packs are quite nicely related, and unfortunately, because of the persecution of wild dogs in Africa, their genetics are a lot lower than they should be. There aren't that many wild dogs left in the wild these days, and so the genetic makeup is quite similar. So not like the cheetah. I think wild dogs is a little bit better in genetics than the cheetah. All the cheetah in Africa, especially southern Africa, are related, which is not good if some form of disease comes by. And I know what happened in Madikwe, a reserve up in the north of South Africa last year. Rabies was introduced through a domestic dog, and the entire, or I think a majority, it might even have been the entire wild dog pack that was there succumbed to it, and they all died, which is a very sad state of affairs. But so the coloration, definitely it's a patterning passed down. Each one is quite unique in its design, but very, very nicely camouflaged. We were talking last night with VM about the black and white vision that animals see. Now these animals are moving around during the day, and their camouflage needs to be daytime camouflage, and it works quite well in the mottling vegetation that we find around here, especially when it gets a bit drier. Ideally the dogs want to get a little bit closer before starting the chase, but essentially once they start the chase they continue it, and any animal that they set their sights on is generally taken down. I know a lot of people have spoken about and talk about what we call in gazelle or in antelope the term pronking or stotting, when the animal jumps up and down. Impalas do it quite well. Thompson's gazelle and springbok do it very, very well. And this is in relation to their fitness. And the impala, by jumping up and down or doing that sort of high rocking horse gait that they do, where all their legs are extended and they cover quite a distance, they're not actually going very fast, but they're showing the animal that I'm very, very strong. And if you're like me this morning with a little bit of a limp in your ankle, these dogs, they understand that, and they pick out the weaker individual, and they'll generally chase that one, because an easy meal is always favored over a difficult meal. And one dog has just moved off over there. I don't know where he's gone to, but the others have not raised their heads at all. Maybe he knows there's water nearby and is going for a quick drink, but the rest haven't made a movement. The rest are all flat. So back onto what I was saying, the impala will start jumping up and down and showing their fitness, and it's to basically indicate to whoever's hunting them, cheetah and wild dogs specifically, that I am fit. Go for Joe over here. Don't go for me. You won't catch me. Go for that guy who can't jump up and down. So that's quite interesting behavior. It's quite selfish, to be honest, but the strongest survive and the weakest are weeded out, and that is what happens in nature. Deformities and illness, sickness and weakness is always taken down by the predators. Predators will generally choose the weaker if they have a choice, and they will signal it out. And animals' behavior, especially your prey, they all have behavior which is trying to keep them away from animals, trying to highlight their fitness, trying to avoid being eaten. And it's also why you hang out in a group. Hopefully you're stronger than one of the individuals. It's one of the jokes we always say on bushwalks. We would tell our guests that make sure if you run, or you don't say don't run, but if you run, make sure you're faster than me. And that's always quite a nice funny joke, because generally I'm pretty fast, so you can make a joke with someone who's maybe a little bit less fit than you are, just to make them feel a little bit more at ease, if it makes them feel at ease at all. But that's the thing. When someone looks at the guide, he asks you, what are you doing? And you're tying your laces. He says, what are you doing? You say, I'm just getting ready, because all I have to do is outrun you. That's a joke. It's not to be serious, folks. We never run out here. We never leave our guests behind. And we don't have to worry about wild dogs in the first place. But I'm not sure where that individual has gone. Seb, can you still see him? I can't. Or her. I didn't see behind it, but the rest of them haven't moved. That's interesting. Seb suggesting that it went to the loo. We had two individuals before that took our attention away, and we followed it back to the road, and they went and they defecated and urinated 50 meters away from where these guys are. Maybe this is a ploy the wild dogs have, that they defecate in a perimeter around where they are, so the animals move left or right of that sort of perimeter, and then once inside are entrapped in this wild dog circle. I'm not sure. I can only guess. I'm making up a lot of information today. These are incredible animals. They are definitely one of a kind on the African continent, and we are blessed, absolutely blessed, to be spending this amount of time with them. And to add to the comment from before that we don't see them doing this, we don't see them doing this. And here comes the other one. He's coming back, or she's coming back to the rest. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be it from myself and Seb this morning in the Djuma side. We're going to be saying goodbye to you this morning. We'll be seeing you again this afternoon. We're going to stay with these wild dogs for a few more moments, but while we do so, we're going to be going back to the Masai Mara, where Ralph has got some more of the non-dog type of animal for you.